Gonna tell you a little bit about Hannah Coulter by Wendell Berry. I don't think this book needs a lot of introduction. Wendell Berry is 91 years old at this taping in 2026, and he wrote this book as part of his series of books about Port William. And this book is not quite as famous, perhaps, as Jayber Crow. So you could, that's also a great place to start. That's where I started reading Wendell Berry's novels. But Hannah Coulter is fantastic in that she narrates her story. I don't want to give too much away, but she just narrates her story as an older person. And uh, I have students read this book for my course, Novel Reading for Pastors. And if you're looking for a pastor or priest to pop up in this book, they really won't. There is references to church and to Christianity throughout. But I'm wanting you to think more about Hannah Coulter, who is a wife and mother and grandmother, sort of as one of the pastors in this family, in this larger extended family, in this village, this kind of farming community where they help one another. Eugene Peterson, in his Under the Unpredictable Plant book, has a section on Wendell Berry, and he says that when Wendell Berry talks about farming or the field or a place, Eugene Peterson says, I think about, you know, farmer, pastor, field, you know, congregation, place, community, or something like that. And so I think that's a useful way to think about this if you're having trouble understanding what you're supposed to be getting out of this as a pastor. I don't think you'll feel that way anyway. You'll enjoy being sensitized to the emotional things that Hannah goes through throughout her lives. Again, like some other novels that I recommend reading, they are teaching you psychology. They're teaching you about words. They're showing you context. And we're seeing sort of the Christian faith throughout in a lot of books. And if you're a Christian, you almost can't help but think Christianly about what's happening in the stories. Let's see here. Just one other comment. I often have students as well read some of the Mad Farmer poems. You can read lots of great poems by Wendell Berry. Some people prefer his essays, where he preaches at you and tells you about farming, tells you about conservation, his and or his poetry. And his poetry can also, those are kind of preachy poems that I'm having you read as well. But he just has poems about nature and that sort of thing as well. But his novel also kind of conveys his opinions on things to some extent. So in that way, he's a bit polarizing to some people. They sort of feel like, wow, he's really telling us that you know it's better to leave the suburbs, leave the city, and go to a farm, and not to use tractors and not to use modern technology, and use horses, or those sort of sustainable kind of things. But when you read kind of experts who have read a lot of Barry, have talked with him, have read a lot of his work, they say, that's too simplistic of a reading. He is sort of provoking you in that direction, but he knows that a farm, you know, wasn't always the perfect life, idyllic, no sin there, that sort of thing. He's smarter than that. So it's not that, he's really saying that. He's trying to give a pitch for that, but he's also trying to show the kind of fidelity, other sorts of values that are present in how he depicts in his poetry, in his essays, in his novels, those things happening, those kind of good traits happening, those good experiences that may be in a city, may be in the suburbs. So uh, I wouldn't be turned off um, if you're sort of like, I'm not sure that I'm going to move the you know, to a rural area and buy some land and farm. Sorry, Mr. Berry. So anyway, that's just a little bit. I don't want to spoil anything. I don't think because it's a more recent book that you need a lot of help here on keeping track of people, on tips on trying to understand or get through things. I think you'll be right into it, and it will go fast and it will be rich. I do have, I encourage people to listen to the podcast series by Close Reads on this book, Hannah Coulter. It's good. There's like four of them, so they're like, an hour each. So in some ways, that's 4 hours. I think it only takes 8 hours to read the whole book. So, but I thought they really know Barry. They've been really influenced by him. They're passionate about it. They love this book. And so I thought their discussion was quite rich. I thought the second episode, if you have to listen to just one, was really helpful, because one of the people does say, Heidi White says, I moved to the farm because of reading this book. I sold my things and changed my life because of this book. And so, that is a great provocative way to start a discussion. I hope you enjoy Hannah Coulter. I think you'll learn, whether you're trying to learn or not, you'll be formed in positive ways. Um, the other thing that I have students do in conjunction with this assignment is to interview an older person and hear about their lives. So, in a way, talking with somebody like a Hannah Coulter, who is narrating her past and what's happened in her family. But I'm having my students actually interview an older pastor. That's partly because I just want them to continue to hear stories of congregations, of contexts, of the people in those congregations. I think that's helpful. Another thing that it occurred to me, one of the things they mentioned actually in this Close Reads podcast is that, you know, some people read Hannah Coulter and then they go and they ask someone in their 80s and 90s, hey, tell me about your life. And that person isn't able to do so sort of in the same way that you would want, even if you kind of ask a lot of questions. Now, it's possible that's not true. And so anyway, but I just want to flag that for you, that sometimes they're just not capable or of remembering and telling stories. I think pastors have more oral ability, usually verbal ability, to do that sort of thing. And so anyway, that's one reason why I'm having you interview pastors. And also just think that we're trying in this course to kind of see the overlap between fictional storytelling, the use of words, understanding people, and we're trying to get our head around wise pastoring and to try to soak in that and reflect on that through some of these novels. So that's all I have about Wendell Berry. Enjoy. Dive in. We'll see whether some of you, I wouldn't be surprised if some of you just love it and others of you are like, I'm not sure. This offended me or that offended me, because uh, you know he comes across strong on kind of how he thinks things should be. For example, going away to education, he's kind of down on that, and so some of you may think, oh well, I'm not sure, is it really true that an education prepares you for no place? It prepares you generally, but it almost takes you away from your context. By the way, that's one of the things that's great about online education, is that you're often still in your context and you're not relocating to be with me here at Bethel. Instead, most of you are in your setting, and so there's my answer to Wendell Berry on education. So again, I'll stop there. Enjoy reading Hannah Coulter.